Hello everybody. So I have a lot to go over today. I'm going to go over some information that I found out, and then at the end I'm going to go over some pictures that I found from different sources. And so we'll just get started right off the bat here. So the incident today took place at MPHS, which is Marysville Pilchuck High School in Marysville, Washington. The shooter had been carrying around a .40 caliber Beretta in his backpack. This has been confirmed in this article as well as many other sources. During lunchtime, the shooter calmly stood up and began to shoot at fellow students. He shot them in the back, seemingly aiming for specific people. So from all the sources that I've looked at, it has said that it seemed like he was targeting specific people and not necessarily shooting blindly into the crowd. He wounded 4 people. It's not released yet if they're students or faculty. Well, we know for sure that he was a student as well as at least one other student, but we don't know about the other 3, and killed 1 female. So the 2 confirmed dead are the shooter and the 1 confirmed female. He then shot himself and was found that way by police upon arrival. At some point, according to eyewitness Jordan Lutton, who is in this article right here, I also watched him speak live on CNN as well. According to Jordan Lutton, Jaylen went outside and continued shooting at some point. This is hard to say when this happened because we don't really know where they found the body, if they found him outside or inside. So, but he's not the only kid that said that he went outside at some point, but still the amount of people he shot was only the 5 and himself. Many students thought it was just a fire drill. This is pretty common. That's in this article right here as well as other sources. But this is pretty common with a shooter drill just because your first instinct when you hear a fire drill isn't necessarily to think active shooter situation. I mean, for most people anyways. And then many students, my fault. A student said he dialed 911 in the cafeteria and handed it to a teacher, and the school had 2,500 students. So basically, the reason the police found out was because at least one person has been come out and said that it was him that was first, was able to somehow dial 911 and then handed it over to a teacher to take over from there. So that's the official story that we've been told, and that's pretty much the extent of what we know at this point that has been confirmed by police and other sources. So now moving on to the shooter. The shooter's name is Jaylen Fryberg, and he's a 15-year-old Native American freshman. By all accounts, he is described as very popular, very happy. He was in football, so that must mean that he was a great guy and very, right here it even says, well-respected great guy. So all sources, even on many of the social media sites that he used to be in charge of, people are commenting and defending him, saying what a great person that he was. So that's very interesting. One picture that I'll go over later, actually it's probably right here, yep. This photo has been all over the news because it is him 3 months ago, and he got that rifle for his birthday. And so a lot of people are bringing up the gun control in regards to parents not doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they let this happen. And it has been confirmed now, too, that the gun that he used, which was not this gun, it was that .40 caliber Beretta, was his father's. So one other thing to note is that Jaylen was suspended about 2 weeks ago due to a fight which was instigated by a quote-unquote racial slur. Some are saying that this was a bullying incident, but nothing has been verified with that. That's just mostly the high school kids talking about it. And all of his social media accounts, which I won't link to here, but I will link to in the description, do paint a picture of a pretty angry and likely depressed person, and that's not necessarily to say that that would make him capable of something like this, but we also have to keep in mind that a lot of teenagers do talk that way online, not realizing the extent of or the implications of what they're actually saying. And I think that we can all somehow justify the way we behaved as teenagers, but I think that we all had some point where we were saying outrageous things, and if the internet would have been around long enough when I was younger, it probably would have caught a lot of really depressing and disturbing things just based on where I was at in life, and the fact that I was so young I didn't have any way to deal with it or coping mechanisms for it. So these are just a couple of his tweets, and I have more in the pictures at the end I'll show. It won't last, it'll never last. You're gonna piss me off, and then some shit's gonna go down, and I don't think you'll like it. So many people are saying that this was a big red flag, that they should have caught it based on this kind of behavior. But like I said, sometimes with teenagers online, especially with the anonymity and I guess kind of the monotonous nature of it, it's hard to tell if they're actually a threat or if they're just kind of overdramatic, for lack of other words. So like I said, it's been stated over and over and over that there's him with this girl now. Her name is Shaylee George or something to that extent, but she was his girlfriend, as you can tell through social media interactions, and a lot of people are thinking that she is actually the female who is dead, who has been shot dead, but from what I read on her social media, she doesn't even go to that high school. She goes to a different high school, so I don't believe that could be her. And this video has gone all over the media as well. It's him being crowned homecoming prince. I guess this says days before shooting. I don't know exactly when that happened. This is interesting. We'll come back to that in a minute, though, as to why. So now we're going to go into the victims. The media hasn't confirmed any victims, but I did a little research myself, and I know that for sure this girl, Gia, is a victim. A lot of people said rest in peace, but then people came on later and they're like, she's not dead. She's at Providence Hospital getting surgery. So I don't believe that she's actually dead, but I do think that she was shot. And there's not a good connection. A lot of people in the comments that I was reading were wondering kind of why she was chosen and why he would have done this to her. But within these comments, we see that they say a girl named Zoe has passed away and not this Gia girl. And so I looked on Jaylen's Facebook and I found that he has two friends named Zoe. One is an adult, but one is this girl right here who lives in the same city. And so I'm not positive if she's one of the other victims, but if there is a Zoe that is dead, it's a good chance that this might be her. But like I said, that's not official. That's just based on what I've been reading from comments from people who knew them, people who were there, etc., etc. So we'll move on. Another confirmed victim, sadly, is Jaylen's cousin, Andrew Fryberg. And this, I think, is one of the only sites that is announcing this, but from what I was reading, because it's amazing how much you can actually learn when you start to look at their social media, because people that knew them start to comment on them and comment on the day if they were there and things like that. But his cousin, Andrew Fryberg, some people are saying was involved with a girl that caused this whole incident, but he's currently at Harborview Medical Center, which is, I believe that the one Gia is at, the Providence, is the one that is the less severe, and that's why she was taken there, because it's not a trauma center. But Andrew was taken to the trauma center, as far as I understand. Please correct me if I am wrong about that. So at least one of his family members was one of the victims, and I've read other places that perhaps two, I think Nate was the name of the other cousin that he might have shot, were involved. So at least one family member was involved, and that's his cousin Andrew right here. So moving on to some possible motives. At this point, they've said a lot of different things, just because, well, like I said, they keep pushing the fact that this is different than other school shootings, that he was popular, that he had popular friends, and all of these kinds of things. And so basically they've said anything from that he asked a girl out who denied him and possibly dated his cousin, who was Andrew, that I had up earlier here. So some people are saying that would be a motive, that this girl said no to Jaylen and then went out with his cousin Andrew, so he got mad and shot both of them. They've also said that his girlfriend broke up with him, which would have been that Shayleen girl. And then the other possibility is that he was bullied. And this is going back to the suspension that he had over the racial slur in the fight that he got into. And so media is kind of all over the place, as well as the police and everything, in regards to why they think he did this. And I think that kind of might be part of why this story got so much coverage, and I'll get into that in a second here. So I started looking into things, and I was interested in what was on Washington's ballot this year. And so as you can see here, Washington is going to be voting on 2 separate firearm amendments on November 4th when they have their voting. And one of them talks about requiring background checks for all gun purchasers. And then one of them is kind of the complete opposite. This prevents confiscation of firearms without due process and implementation of more extensive background checks than those at the federal level. So basically, I think what this one is saying is that you can't take someone's firearm unless there's a really, really good reason to do so. And so kind of interesting that these 2 votes are coming up in about 2 weeks here, and they're one of the only states that actually has a firearm amendment going on at this time. Which brings me to this other story that was happening today. So California, I'll just show you quickly. California does not have any type of gun control vote this November. I'll show you here. That was from June. So as you see here, none of them have anything to do with gun control. However, the entire time, and now I've been watching these news stories and listening to the scanner pretty much since this all started, so about 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, that shooting, the school shooting, has been all that's been on CNN on the other networks. However, at the exact same time that this was happening, this maniac, this heavily armed person, as he was described, shot 2 officers and killed them, shot another officer who didn't die, and a civilian who didn't die. And during the time that I was watching the CNN coverage about the school shooting, this guy was still at large. And so that really says something as to why one was broadcast over the other, because I'm going to post all of the live CNN footage that I took, but you'll see for yourself that not 1 second is taken on the fact that there's a dangerous, heavily armed person shooting around the Sacramento area, because everything is focused on something that's seemingly already done with this high school. So I thought that was kind of interesting because, well, what kind of motive would they have to overly show? Well, I wouldn't say overly. If this really did happen, the lives that these kids lost, it's devastating that these kids lost their lives. But why would this get all of the treatment when it was, as I say, supposedly over at the time of coverage, when we have this maniac running around with all this weaponry and he's getting no coverage? Wouldn't that be something that you would think they would want to tell people? Like, hey, there's a madman in the area. Maybe let's watch out for him. And the other thing that was happening at the exact same time was that there was a hatchet attack in New York City. And basically this crazy guy with a hatchet started, I don't know if he only attacked one person or multiple people. I'm pretty sure that he attacked officers as well, just like the shooting in Sacramento. And so now this one is being called an act of terror. But same deal again. The entire time that I was watching CNN, there was coverage galore every second about this school shooting, but there was only snippets and bits of this hatchet attack, even though that was still happening at the end of that was still happening when I was watching CNN Live. So now to get into the issue of gun control, which would, I feel, be the only reason that something like this could and would be fabricated. And I know it's terrible to think about. I know that it's hard to even let your brain go there, but we have to look at citizen disarmament throughout history. And the most notable time, obviously, would be Nazis in Germany. And you have to think, well, they weren't dumb people. We're not dumb people. We're not really any better than those people were. And someone could just as easily, quote unquote, pull the wool over our eyes, shoot us with a bunch of propaganda, no pun intended, and then, slowly take away our rights. And I'm not even somebody who wants to or does own a gun, but I know history and patterns well enough to know that it's kind of ridiculous to not ask these questions when it comes up. So what I find really interesting about this, besides the amount of coverage that it got over everything else, is that, as I said, the stations are continually saying things like how popular he was. And more than once, almost verbatim, I saw reporters say things like, this guy does not fit the bill. And can you believe that somebody so popular would do something like this? And so what that point drives home really is that kids who we think are kind of the dangerous kids, which are Dylan Klebold, or Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, and all of the other shooters are loners and losers and get bullied all the time. Oh, those are the ones we need to worry about. Those are the ones we need to be afraid of. But now today we have this very popular, well-off boy who just got voted homecoming prince goes and does this awful thing. And how can you wrap your mind around something like that when every idea you have of a school shooter is this crazy loner person? And so I think that's important to think of in regards to propaganda, because it's showing us, well, hey, you're not safe from anybody. Any lunatic could be just disguising themselves as a normal person and then one day grab a gun and shoot you up. And hey, let's blame the guns because it's the guns and not the actual crazy person, and not the fact that, he had all these warning signs and nobody noticed them. It's definitely just the guns. So yeah, I think that that's something to think about. And again, they were quick to report that the gun that he had was his father's, and now that is being broadcast everywhere. And I think that's something important because it shows that even a responsible gun owner, such as his father, can still contribute to something so awful by leaving their guns readily available, etc., etc. So I think that has to do more with the fear of the whole situation as well. Just looking over my notes here. Sorry about that. Some other thoughts. Today was supposed to be a half day at their school, and that's probably completely unrelated. And all of next week is supposed to be conferences, and again, probably completely unrelated, but still interesting to think about. Oh, I actually forgot to go over this active shooter drill incidents. So where are the pictures? I'm going to go into my pictures here really quickly because I always do this whenever there's an active shooter. I will immediately see if there was any type of drill going on at the time. And I scoured the internet and I could not find a single thing that showed me that there was going to be a SWAT drill. However, when I was listening to the CNN footage, again, something that I'll upload and you can see for yourself, one of the police chiefs who was giving a statement said, his quote is nearly verbatim, "We have done drills here with SWAT. I cannot say when exactly that took place." It's also notable that you'll see right after he says that statement, he ditches and he ends that press conference. So I thought that was kind of interesting and curious. Like, well, that was kind of a simple question. We didn't ask you what day it happened, so that was kind of unneeded information, kind of the sign of a lie in a sense. So as I said, I searched all kinds of different search words, and I did Marysville SWAT training. And as you can see here, one of the results that came up is Marysville School District. And this is the Marysville main page right here. This date, yesterday, October 23rd, 2014. Local law enforcement under the direction of Marysville Police Department will be holding a SWAT training in the large fence parking ... Now, I click on that page and it brings us to today's status, which is something completely different and has to do with it has to do with the shooting that happened today. So I thought that was strange that you can't even find a cache version, and I know how to go through all the different resources to find a version that is unedited, but since it was changed today, you can't find that anywhere. So you can Google that yourself and you can see that for yourself. I just thought that that was strange that that popped up just like that. And then another reporter on CNN was reported today. I didn't see this live and I haven't been able to find a video, so I can't say that it for sure happened. But the quote is that CNN host Brooke Baldwin, covering breaking news of the school shooting in Marysville, Washington, announces that she has a live update regarding the school shooting. Baldwin said she's been just handed a paper with new information, which she will read on the air. She asked for viewers to, quoting, bear with her as she reads it cold, quote unquote cold. So she just gets this piece of paper, she's going to read it out loud just live on air. She reads, Marysville police will be holding SWAT training today. Baldwin then interrupts herself and states, oh, this is from yesterday. Later, the host announces, initially, students thought this was a fire drill. So, you know, all of those things are really interesting. And when I look at these things, I always look at it from both angles. If this is real, how does that make sense? Well, if this is real, it doesn't really make sense that they're hiding the fact that there was a SWAT drill yesterday or was supposed to be, because if it was real, what would they have to hide about it? Now, if it isn't real, they would have a lot to hide. So if you can come up with some logical reason why that would happen, why they would cover it up, not that they would have the drill, because that could be, you know, circumstance or happenstance, I should say. But if you can come up with a logical reason why they would be denying that that SWAT drill happened yesterday or was supposed to, I would love to hear that idea. Oh, and then what I found interesting in that live CNN coverage, again, I'm sorry I didn't note any of the times, but if you listen, you'll for sure verify and hear everything I'm telling you. But so we have a police officer saying that, yes, there were SWAT drills. We have this photo saying that on the 23rd, there was supposed to be a SWAT drill. Whoops, that's not a picture. And then we have one of the students who was a witness says that there was no drill this year at all, only for fire and things like that. So I thought that was weird too, because again, if it was real, why would that be something he would need to lie about or hide? And it's just interesting that the police are saying that it did happen, or at least was supposed to happen, and then we have at least one student who says that it did not happen. So now, lastly, I'm going to go through all of these photos that I uploaded and just give you kind of a rundown on what they are and why I chose them. So here we have a picture of Jaylen. As you can see, he was very active and proud of his Native American heritage. Nothing weird about him, though, just a cool, popular guy taking selfies with his iPhone. So this is one of the girls who was part of the shooting today. This is just kind of, I can't believe this. My thoughts and praise go out to everyone that was hurt and their families. And then a picture of MPHS written on the side here. And yeah, she was just one of the other witnesses that I had been following. And I'm going to link to all of these so they're all available for you. So this is that Gia Soriano picture that I had found all those comments on about her being dead. This is, again, the SWAT result on Google. This I thought was interesting, but I realized after I looked at it that it was probably somebody who just heard of him today. But I was like, maybe this has something to do with the bullying and hashtag kill yourself. Maybe he was being bullied right there. But since there's no timestamp, it's hard to say if that was said before or after he did the shooting today. So these are all the different RIP when I thought that Gia Soriano was the girl that had passed. But again, later comments from other people seem to say that she's still alive and just in surgery. This is that same picture with him and the gun, his bullet. It didn't show that portion, but this is from his Instagram. These are the bullets. This is one person who I thought was just being initially crazy, but when I looked up that Gia and Andrew, this is actually where I got these names from. This person says that he had slept with Shayleen, which would be Jaylen's ex-girlfriend, and that he watched Andrew and Gia get shot, and then he got shot at. And like I said, I totally thought that this was just some crazy nuthead when I first looked at it, but then I looked at his page, and he actually is from that high school, a history of being from that high school, not just as of today. And both of those names are people that were shot, so there could be some, positive things to this person and his comments. So this is that Shayleen. This is the one who he broke up with. And as you can see, she went through just as many emotional things. And I thought this was interesting, this little emoji with kind of the bummed face and the gun. But yeah, as you can see, I swear I just can't do anything right, not even with my own fucking mom. This is bullshit. I miss you, but you do no good for me, so why should I have you in my life? Oh yeah, you're my mom, kind of hard to keep you out forever. So she has also been struggling through different things of her own, but this is just kind of an example of how teenagers act online without kind of realizing that the entire world can see it at any given time. So this is Jaylen with a dead deer, and he had a couple more graphic pictures of skinned deer, but I just didn't feel like adding them because I didn't personally want to look at them. But this could be a sign that, well, the media says this could be a sign that he had no respect for life because he was a hunter in the past and he got used to killing things and feeling no remorse. I don't necessarily think that's true, but you have to really look at these things from all angles. And here's that other photo of him with another deer. Same kind of situation. This is that same situation where I thought it might be bullying, but now looking at it, it probably was posted after he had done the things he did. So now here's a bunch of screen caps from Jaylen's. Oh, sorry, this is Shayleen again. But God fucking damn it. And then Jaylen, I should have listened. You were right. The whole time you were right. Why the fuck are you going to be in a relationship if your ass can't stay loyal? So again, just kind of reiterating that they had a very tumultuous relationship and both of them were struggling for different things. That was the November ballot that I showed you. This is a copy of the school calendar. Can't really see it very well. But as you can see, today would have been a half day, and then all next week is conferences. And like I said, I don't think that that really means anything necessarily, but it is kind of worth noting in case something comes up later that makes sense with it. Now this is going to take 20 minutes to load again because I have about 300 pages open. Alright, moving on. So then here's some tweets from Jaylen's page. When my dad calls some dude a fucking queer, hella funny. Why don't I believe you? Oh, and then here's a different person. I didn't mean to lead you on, bruh. And this is someone else that actually looked like she might have had something going on with Jaylen as well. I mean, it's high school, so there's all kinds of mixed blurred lines and weird relationships and stuff like that. That's kind of commonplace for every single high school. It's just what makes this high school different or this situation different that made him snap if he did. Fuck it, might as well die now. What the fuck did I just do? The other interesting thing about his page is that it's either really emotional, sad things or it's really sexualized, dirty things. And one thing that I read, too, was that students were saying that his drama between Shayleen, his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, was being retweeted by many people all over the school as kind of a way to harass him, and that was kind of getting to him. So who knows? That might have been a factor as well. Here's that tweet. You're going to piss me off, and then some shit's going to go down, and I don't think you'll like it. Getting caught up in some dumbass shit. Oh yeah, thanks. Believe someone else's kid and not yours. Thanks for that. Oh, and one thing that I thought was weird was that he makes mention of, I don't know if it was Shayleen or somebody else his age having a kid. Someone he was involved with, I assume, but I don't think it was his kid. I hate that I can't live without you. Tell me what your plan is. You can't make a bond with anyone like the bond me and you have right now. Tell me what you're going to do. You're not going to like what happens next. And now you'll notice these are dating all the way back till August 20th. That one was from. Just because you got access to it and you're around it, it runs in the family doesn't mean that it's for you. Want something different for you. Hope you fucking feel better. Yeah, because she sets such a good example for you. You're going to turn out like her. Sick of this shit. So, I mean, you can see a pattern here. This is just kind of his attitude. It won't last. It'll never last. That was just yesterday that he posted that. If I just laid down, that was 3 days ago. So clearly struggling with something. Does that mean he's a maniac killer? I'm not convinced. So here's just more. You can go through and read all of these. They're all really just very similar, though. That's kind of why I'm just... Okay, so that wraps it up for me today, guys. And I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to keep kind of investigating this because it's interesting to me. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But I do know that the things that really strike me as odd are the SWAT drill that has been kind of strangely announced different ways, and clearly somebody is lying about it for some reason, whether accidental or not. And then the other thing would be the ballots this November 4th that they're going to be voting on gun control. So as I said, I'm uploading all of the scanner audio that I took today from the Marysville Police Department, as well as the video that I took live from CNN, and then this video too. So thank you guys again for watching, and remember, whenever something like this happens, just keep your thinking cap on because it really pays off to use that critical thinking skill.